Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. President Trump must really enjoy the way his feet taste. Because again, he opened his mouth and he inserted his foot when it comes to Ghislaine Maxwell. On what planet is it a good idea to double down on your well wishes for Ghislaine Maxwell? And we're not talking about a man who usually holds back, right? We know that Donald Trump has some pretty harsh opinions about people. Everybody has a nickname, everybody's called some sort of derogatory word, but all of a sudden, the sex trafficker, Ghislaine Maxwell, is spared his wrath. It is not a good look, President Trump, and it is absolutely disgusting to me that you continue to double down on your well wishes for Ghislaine Maxwell. She doesn't deserve the same sort of commentary that Rosie O'Donnell got, or Omarosa, or Elizabeth Warren. If you can find time to come up with crafty nicknames for them, if you can find time to talk shit about them, surely you can find some time to drop a bomb or two on Ghislaine Maxwell, right? You would think that's what Donald Trump, Mr. Upfront, Mr. I'm gonna call it how it is, would operate here. But that's not the case. Instead, he's wishing her well again, doubling down on the original well wishes. Absolutely, positively ridiculous, and Donald Trump should know better. You would think that a man who has such hot opinions about so many people would have a fantastic hot take for the media about Ghislaine Maxwell. But instead, he acts meek and has a canned statement, I wish her well, while at the same time throwing in a tidbit about Jeffrey Epstein's death in jail and what supposedly happened. So is Trump saying that Jeffrey Epstein was killed in jail? And if so, Mr. President, it was on your watch. What were your people doing? What was Darth Barr up to? And how in the hell was Jeffrey Epstein allowed to die under your watch? Either way, Mr. President, this is not a good look for you. And to all of those of you out there who are Donald Trump supporters who listen to the show, look, sometimes hard truths must be spoken. And I don't mean the garbage that you see in the media on a regular basis, the politicized noise. But this kind of shit right here must be challenged always, and it does not matter who the president is. I don't care if you support him or not. This kind of shit cannot be acceptable to anybody, especially in a case like this, when all of you out there listening, no matter what political side of the aisle you're on, all of you out there understand that it is both sides of the aisle in this case, that everybody we're dealing with is a gray character, and there can be no quarter and there can be no support given to anybody who was involved with Jeffrey Epstein. It all must be aired out. There can be no half-truths, and lies of omission are still lies, folks. And as we've been on this adventure, uncovering all of these different tidbits in the articles that we've covered, one thing is most assuredly certain. Every last person who has a bank account like Donald Trump's or Bill Clinton's, who hung out in New York City, rubbed elbows with Jeffrey Epstein, and spent enormous amounts of time with him. And Donald Trump most certainly is no exception. And he would do himself a big service here, a big favor, if he would just come out and be honest about his relationship. But he seems to have a problem doing that. And since he does not want to be completely transparent about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, the questions will continue to pile up. Today, our article is from CNBC. The author is Dan Mangan. Headline: Trump suggests Jeffrey Epstein might have been killed. defends well wishes for Ghislaine Maxwell. And again, I agree that Jeffrey Epstein quite possibly and very likely was killed in prison. But at the same time, Donald Trump was in charge of the prison. His people were in charge of the prison. So how is it that only 2 lowly prison guards are the only ones feeling the heat? President Donald Trump, in a new interview, suggested that accused child sex trafficker, pedophile, all-around scumbag, Jeffrey Epstein might have been killed in jail instead of having committed suicide, and defended his well wishes to Epstein's alleged accomplice, co-conspirator, general all-around scumbag, Ghislaine Maxwell. Look, this is kind of a big deal, right? Let's forget about the well wishes to Ghislaine Maxwell for a moment. Let's put that to the side for a moment and focus on the comment about Jeffrey Epstein being murdered in prison. That is a huge bombshell coming from the President of the United States of America, and I think that it needs to be discussed. If Donald Trump still has questions about what occurred in that jail cell, if people at the highest levels of government have no idea what occurred in that jail cell, then why should the rest of us believe the narrative that Darth Barr tried to spin us? We shouldn't, folks, okay? And I'm glad to report that most of you out there don't. Keep asking the hard questions. Trump also said, first of all, I don't know that, when he was reminded that Maxwell now faces charges related to alleged sexual abuse of children by the wealthy investor, pedophile, Epstein. And how doesn't Donald Trump know that? Again, why is he so evasive? Why can't he just be forthright and be honest? Yes, I had a relationship with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Yes, I hung out with them at our parties. And then explain the whole entire story. Instead, he's evasive, and there's never, ever any sort of tangible explanation for anything from any of these people who were involved with Epstein, from Trump to Clinton, and make your way down the list, folks. But I do know her friend or boyfriend, Epstein, was either killed or committed suicide in jail, Trump said of the British socialite, co-conspirator, child abuser, Maxwell. She's now in jail, so he's playing dumb here, right? Why would he play dumb? It's not like you guys just, met at the grocery store one time or at someone's birthday party. You were on his plane at least at one time for sure, Donald Trump. Your ex-wife, and Ghislaine Maxwell were friends, Donald Trump. You said you knew Jeffrey Epstein for 15 years in 2002. So that means your friendship spans all the way back to the 80s. So let's be clear. This was not just somebody you met once or twice. Don't act like you don't know Ghislaine Maxwell, and stop playing loose with the truth. Yeah, I wish her well. I wish you well. I'd wish a lot of people well, he told Jonathan Swan of Axios in the interview. What does that even mean? That's like an incoherent rambling of a drunk guy at the bar. I wish her well. I wish you well. I wish everyone well. You get well wishes. You get well wishes. Everybody gets well wishes. Is he for real? Does he really think that people who are following this case especially are going to just shrug their shoulders and move on and say, no big deal. Just, Trump's just rambling. No big deal. Nope, that's not going to occur. Everybody who was involved with Jeffrey Epstein and his criminal enterprise must be asked the hard questions, and those answers must be given. I don't care if you're an ex-president, the sitting president, or the son of God himself. Good luck. Let them prove somebody was guilty, Trump said. What does that even mean? Let them prove somebody was guilty? Donald Trump, are you for real right now? We're not talking about blue-collar crimes here. We're not talking about, your buddy Paul Manafort here. We're talking about a child sex trafficking ring. Wake up, Donald Trump. Let them prove somebody was guilty. Oh, don't worry. That's going to occur Allison Moe and Audrey Strauss and the SDNY are hard on the case. As long as Darth Barr doesn't try and meddle, as long as you keep your friggin' goons away from the situation. Because I'll tell you what, folks, comments like this from Donald Trump are straight garbage, and I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I know that a lot of people who listen are Trump supporters, and hey, I get it, right? I'm not here to bash the man for everything that he does like most people do. I try to stay very clinical when we're discussing things. But this is straight garbage, and I'm not going to stay silent because it's Donald Trump who says this. Anyone who would say garbage like this needs to be called out, okay? Anybody who would act like it's no big deal what they're accused of and act like he has no idea who they are when everybody knows that's a different reality, well, it needs to be questioned and it needs to be challenged. Years ago, Trump had socialized with Epstein and Maxwell, whose other high-profile friends had included former President Bill Clinton and Britain's Prince Andrew, a.k.a. the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family. And it's not even up for debate, okay, folks? It's not up for debate if Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump were friends. They were, okay? It's not up for debate if Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump were good friends. They were. Now, at the same time, just like I have to state when we're talking about Bill Clinton, we have no claims here of Donald Trump being involved in abusing girls with Jeffrey Epstein, okay? There's no credible claims here that have been reported by the survivors, and that is just not the situation. But the fact of the matter still remains. Donald Trump was friendly with Jeffrey Epstein. Donald Trump was friendly with Ghislaine Maxwell, and for years, Donald Trump most assuredly enabled Jeffrey Epstein. Those are the facts, folks. Epstein, 66, died last August in jail in Manhattan by what federal officials and New York City medical examiner's office have said was a suicide by hanging. And we know that that was challenged. Michael Baden challenged that. Several different forensic pathologists disputed that. So we know that this is something that's definitely up for dispute, right? But Donald Trump weighing in, talking about how this might be a suicide, is a bit of a point that should be focused on. This is the President of the United States of America, folks. And either way, anyhow you chop it here, Donald Trump and his administration looks terrible. If Epstein was able to kill himself while in custody, absolutely huge black eye on Donald Trump's administration and the Department of Justice and the Corrections Bureau. If he was allowed to be murdered while in prison, well, that opens up a whole new set of questions. And if that's the case, we need to have a transparent investigation that is being held by somebody other than Donald Trump's administration. Some sort of outside organization must be put together to take a clinical look at this, whatever it may be. But if the President of the United States has questions, then we should all have questions. At the time, Epstein was waiting trial on child sex trafficking charges related to the alleged abuse of dozens of underage girls from 2002 through 2005. Attorney General William Barr has said that Epstein's death, which occurred weeks after another apparent suicide bid by him in the same high-security federal jail, was the result of a perfect storm of screw-ups. But also said he is sure Epstein killed himself. Yeah, he's sure, huh? I wish I could deal in absolutes the way Darth Barr does, but we shouldn't expect anything else from him, because remember, the Sith always deal in absolutes. Barr said he personally reviewed security footage that shows no one entered the area where Epstein was being kept at the time he died. Oh, that's nice. Can we see that security footage, please? Are you going to ever reveal that to the people that, pay your salary? Or are we just supposed to believe Darth Barr and the narrative that he wants to spin us? I don't know about you folks, but I am not willing to believe any narrative, especially in this case, that is put forward by the federal government. 2 guards at the jail who were supposed to be keeping an eye on Epstein and other inmates on the night of his death have been criminally charged with trying to cover up their failure to do so. And again, why are they the only 2 people who were charged? If this is the case and these guards are charged, where's their boss? Where's their boss's boss? Why is it not a complete and utter washout of everybody involved? Maxwell, 58, was arrested last month on charges related to her allegedly recruiting and grooming several underage girls to be sexually abused by Epstein in the mid-90s. She is also accused of perjuring herself by lying under oath during a deposition for a civil lawsuit filed by Virginia Roberts, who has claimed that she was recruited by Maxwell to be abused by Epstein while working as a teenager in the spa at Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort in Palm Beach, Florida. And we know that's the case for sure. And we also know that Maxwell and Epstein used Mar-a-Lago as a place to hunt for new victims. This is indisputable. This is a fact. Maxwell has pleaded not guilty and is being held without bail in federal jail in Brooklyn, New York. Swan noted that at a White House news conference on July 21st, Trump was asked by a reporter if in Maxwell's case, you feel that she's going to turn in powerful men. I just wish her well, frankly, Trump had answered at the time, going on to say, I've met her numerous times over the years, especially since I lived in Palm Beach, and I guess they lived in Palm Beach. When Swan repeated the nature of the allegations against Maxwell and said, why would you wish such a person well? Trump answered that he did not know what Maxwell is accused of. It's such BS. He doesn't know. So the President of the United States has no idea about one of the most high-profile cases and inmates in the system right now. If that's the case, then this man has no business being the President of the United States. Her boyfriend died in jail, and people are still trying to figure out how did that happen. Was it suicide? Was he killed, the president said? What do you mean people? You mean your people? Have your people not been able to figure out what's going on there, old Mr. President Trump? What the hell is going on here? And I do wish her well. I'm not looking for anything bad for her. I'm not looking for bad for anybody, Trump said. What? Everybody you talk about, you trash. Everybody you talk about, you demean. Everybody who is considered an enemy gets nuked. But all of a sudden, this lady shows up, a human sex trafficker, a human trafficker, a child trafficker, and you have nothing bad to say about her? Isn't that a bit out of character for you, Mr. Trump? And they took that and made it such a big deal, the president said, referring to reporters who wrote about his comments at the news conference regarding the Maxwell. But all it is her boyfriend died. He died in jail. Was he killed? Was it suicide? I do wish her well. Not one mention of the survivors, didn't mention the survivors at all, doesn't wish them well, nothing. But he wishes Ghislaine Maxwell well, that's for sure. What sort of reality are we living in? I am absolutely positive that when they turned CERN on, that we were knocked into an alternate reality. That's the only explanation for what's going on. It's the only explanation for this moronity. There is no place for the President of the United States of America to be wishing somebody like Ghislaine Maxwell well. Especially considering Trump's track record and how he has talked about his opponents. So this isn't like a guy who never has anything to say, who's quiet and reserved. This is a man who always has plenty to say. But now, when it comes to Ghislaine Maxwell, it's a whole different story? Unacceptable. Unacceptable, and it must be questioned. Donald Trump really must enjoy the way those high-priced Italian leather shoes taste, because his foot once again found its way directly into his mouth. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at Bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All of the links that pertain to this episode can be found in the description box. All right, everybody, I'll be back later on and we'll do it all over again.